All right, let me now bring on another comrade, the President General of the All Trinidad General Workers Trade Union, none other than Comrade Nirvan Maharaj. Comrade, you take the platform.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. My brothers and sisters of the labor movement, of the working class of Trinidad and Tobago, I bring you greetings on behalf of the All Trinidad General Workers Trade Union. First of all, while much could be said about the ravages of COVID-19 from a labor perspective, I think what stands out the most is the fact that we are seeing a deliberate, organized, and systematic manner in which companies are creating scenarios to ensure a reduction of the labor force through frustration, duress, and the continued exploitation of workers who sometimes, because they can't do better, must subject themselves to the whims and fancies of these companies. I think all comrades are aware that we are facing outstanding negotiations, employers unilaterally varying the terms and conditions of employment, employers circumventing the registered legal collective agreements, employers forcing workers to multitask without adequate compensation, and of course the thousands of workers who are being retrenched and laid off. Comrades, I think the time has come for us to unite as a trade union movement for one sole purpose, and that is to create a political lobby. And maybe the word political, I don't mean it in the sense of electoral politics. I use the term political in the sense that we have to find a way by creating a united, powerful lobby to force the incumbent politicians to bring to Parliament the necessary legislation to ensure that there's a reform of the existing legislation to better protect the thousands of workers who are being unemployed, who are losing their jobs, and who are holding on to their jobs by a whim. Comrades, we have to call on the Minister of Labor and by extension the government to give workers the protection of the law. And I think we have always called for amendments to the Industrial Relations Act. We have called for amendments to the Retrenchment and Severance Benefit Act and the Companies Act simultaneously to ensure that workers are placed at the top of the list of creditors in the event of a wind-up of a company, to ensure that companies cannot use full retrenchment to basically escape their financial obligation to workers. We also have to call for the creation of an indemnity severance fund where foreign companies must contribute so that in the wind-up of a company such as the steel workers, workers will not be left in limbo but could access these funds as a smooth transition onto other employment. I think also, comrades, we have to be very careful, and I know my time is short, but we have to be very careful of the continuing legalization of the industrial court, where we are standing aside and allowing blindly technicalities of law and legal technicalities of the civil and criminal jurisprudence to be blindly imported into the industrial court as new rules and regulations, which places an onerous burden on the ordinary worker and, of course, trade unions, the burdens of cost. Some people tend to forget that the industrial court is a court of social conscience and social justice, and it is not a court of law. And we have to stand together to make that point very clear to the judges of the industrial court and those who seem to think that the industrial court is a legal court based in the Supreme Court jurisprudence. If that is the case, then it is best we put the industrial court and the appointment of judges within the Legal and Services, Judicial and Legal Services Commission to appoint these judges, to give them security of tenure, and to remove any concept of bias or apparent bias against these judges. So, comrades, we have to be very mindful that we have to get together on the point of legislative reform, because all the rantings and ravings and marching and demonstrations that we do will be of no account if we cannot get into the Parliament the necessary legislation to give greater protection and liberation to the working class who are dependent upon us to provide this leadership. You have to also understand we have to call for the greater powers to the industrial court, to give the industrial court the powers of enforcement. Most of you are aware that many companies refuse to adhere to industrial court awards and judgments because they consider the industrial court to be a toothless bulldog. If they do not adhere to the judgments, then you have to register the judgments at the level of the High Court and enforce the judgments at that level, which is extremely costly to the ordinary union and the ordinary worker. So my comments this morning, in the short time that I have, I think unity is good. I praise it, but I think instead of only uniting with regard to the motorcade and the rally and coming together to protest, we need to unite in a serious way to ensure legislative amendments be brought to the parliament on behalf of the working class. It is the only way for the liberation of our people from the whims and fancies of employers. So, comrades, I thank you very much. God bless and stay safe.
Thank you very much, Comrade Nirvan Maharaj, for that intervention. And of